The moment I stepped into my house that evening, something felt different. Not physically. Everything was where it should be. The furniture neatly arranged, the faint scent of lavender from the air freshener lingering in the air. But there was an unmistakable coldness, an absence of warmth. My name is Daniel Carter, and for the past 10 years, I had been what most people would call a devoted husband. My wife, Lisa, and I had built a life together, one filled with laughter, shared dreams, and the occasional struggles that every marriage endures. At least, that's what I believed. Lisa and I met in college. She was smart, ambitious, and effortlessly charming. I was captivated by her from the start. After graduation, we got married, bought a house in the suburbs, and settled into what seemed like a picture-perfect life. I worked in finance, often putting in long hours to ensure we had a secure future, while Lisa pursued her passion for interior design. But over the past year, things had changed. Lisa had grown distant, always on her phone, laughing at messages she never shared. Our conversations had dwindled to the essentials. What's for dinner? What time would I be home? Had I paid the electricity bill? The intimacy, the stolen glances, the spontaneous hugs, they were gone. At first, I convinced myself that it was just a phase, maybe stress from work or personal issues she hadn't shared. But as time passed, the gut-wrenching feeling that something was wrong refused to go away. Then there were the late nights. She started working late more often, claiming new clients kept her busy. Sometimes, she would leave the house dressed in something more fitting for a date than a business meeting, but I bit my tongue. I didn't want to be the insecure, paranoid husband. I trusted Lisa. Until one evening, when trust turned to doubt. It was a Friday, and I had decided to surprise Lisa by picking her up from work. I bought her favorite roses, thinking maybe a small, romantic gesture could rekindle something between us. But when I arrived at the office, her car was nowhere in sight. Confused, I called her. "Hey, babe, are you still at work?" There was a brief hesitation before she responded. "Yeah, I have a late meeting. I'll be home in a couple of hours." I felt my stomach tighten. "That's strange. I'm outside your office, and your car isn't here." Silence. A long, unnerving silence. Then, she laughed, a forced, nervous laugh. "Oh, I had to meet a client at a restaurant nearby. Didn't I tell you?" She hadn't, and I knew she was lying. That night, she came home smelling of cologne that wasn't mine. I lay awake beside her, staring at the ceiling, my mind racing. Every doubt I had ignored, every excuse I had accepted, every unexplained moment, it all pointed to one painful truth. Lisa was cheating on me. The next morning, as I sipped my coffee, I made a decision. I needed proof. I wasn't going to confront her based on a feeling. I needed undeniable evidence before I made my next move. And when I got it, I wouldn't just walk away. I'd make sure she regretted every single lie she had told me. The moment I decided to uncover the truth, my mind shifted from heartbreak to strategy. If Lisa was betraying me, I wasn't going to let her get away with it easily. I started by paying closer attention, not just to her behavior, but to every small inconsistency I had ignored before. She was careful, but not careful enough. Her phone, which once lay freely on the kitchen counter, was now always in her pocket or face down. She started showering as soon as she got home, something she never used to do. But the biggest red flag? The sudden increase in weekend work trips. One Saturday morning, she kissed my cheek and told me she had to meet a high-profile client for an out-of-town consultation. I nodded. "Sounds great. Want me to drive you to the airport?" Her eyes flickered with hesitation before she shook her head. "No need, babe. It's a quick trip. I'll be back by Sunday evening." A lie. I followed her that day. Instead of heading to the airport, she drove to a hotel downtown. I parked a safe distance away, my hands gripping the steering wheel as I watched her step out of the car, adjusting her dress, her phone pressed to her ear. Moments later, a man arrived. Tall, confident, well-dressed, and definitely not a client. I watched as she greeted him with a smile I hadn't seen in years, the kind of smile she used to give me. Then, without hesitation, she kissed him. My heart pounded in my chest, but not from sadness. I expected to feel shattered, but all I felt was anger. Cold, calculated anger. Lisa had made her choice. Now it was time for me to make mine. That night, I pretended everything was normal. I greeted Lisa when she came home, even asked about her trip. She responded effortlessly, spinning a story so flawlessly that it made my stomach turn. I wasn't going to confront her, not yet. Instead, I prepared my revenge. Step 1. Gather evidence. Over the next few weeks, I played the role of the oblivious husband while working behind the scenes. I placed hidden cameras in the house, installed tracking software on our shared laptop, and even hired a private investigator. The results? Multiple hotel meetups, explicit messages, secret accounts. It was worse than I imagined. She wasn't just having an affair, she was leading a double life. But then, the biggest twist of all, she was planning to divorce me. One evening, Lisa sat me down, a solemn expression on her face. Dan, we need to talk. I leaned back, acting confused. Of course, what's wrong? She sighed, rubbing her temples. I've been thinking a lot, and I don't think this marriage is working anymore. There it was. The betrayal, wrapped in a victim narrative. I played along. What? Lisa, where is this coming from? I don't know. I just feel like we've grown apart. It's no one's fault, but I think we'd be happier if we went our separate ways. Lies. 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 She wanted out. Not because of any real issues, but because she thought she found something better. I kept my face neutral. I don't know what to say. She reached for my hand. I know this is hard, but I want us to be civil. I don't want to fight over things. We can split everything fairly. Split everything fairly? She was testing the waters, seeing if I'd agree to walk away peacefully. I nodded slowly. I guessed if that's what you want, I can't stop you. A flicker of relief crossed her face. Thank you for understanding. Let's make this as easy as possible. I forced a smile. Of course, Lisa. As easy as possible. What she didn't know was that I had already taken action. I had met with a lawyer. I had gathered evidence. I had prepared for every move she planned to make. Lisa thought she was about to start a new life. She had no idea I was about to destroy it. Lisa thought she had everything under control. She had her affair partner, her divorce plans, and, in her mind, a husband too blind to see what was happening. But she was about to find out just how wrong she was. The day Lisa officially filed for divorce, I pretended to be shocked and heartbroken. I played my part perfectly, nodding, sighing, even forcing out a hesitant. If this is what you really want. She reassured me. Dan, I still care about you. I want to do this amicably. I almost laughed. Amicably? That's why she had gone to one of the most aggressive divorce lawyers in town. She had made a huge mistake, though. She underestimated me. The first blow, financial ruin. Lisa expected a clean split, but she had no idea that I had been working with my lawyer for weeks. The moment she filed, I froze our joint accounts, legally, of course. I transferred my salary into a new, personal account and cut her off from my credit cards. Her reaction was priceless. Dan, what the hell? I can't access our money. She snapped one morning, waving her phone in frustration. I feigned innocence. Oh, really? I guess since we're getting divorced, I figured we should start handling finances separately. Her face paled. She had quit her job months ago, expecting to rely on me until the divorce was settled. Now, she was stuck with zero access to my income. But that was just the beginning. The second blow, destroying her affair. While Lisa was struggling financially, I decided it was time to take things a step further. Her lover, Mark, was married. And his wife? Well, I made sure she found out everything. I sent her an anonymous package containing pictures, messages, and even hotel receipts. I didn't just tell her. I showed her every detail of their affair. The fallout was explosive. Mark's wife kicked him out, threatened him with divorce, and, from what I heard, went after his business assets in court. And Lisa? The moment she realized Mark was no longer an option, she panicked. She came home that night with tears in her eyes, acting as if she was suddenly full of regret. Dan, I held up my hand. Don't. Just don't. She hesitated. I think, maybe we should reconsider the divorce. Oh, now she wanted to reconsider? I smiled. Lisa, I think you were right. This marriage isn't working. Her eyes widened. She never expected me to be the one rejecting her. And it was about to get even worse. The third blow, public humiliation. I had saved the best for last. Lisa had bragged to her friends about her exciting new life. She thought she was moving up, trading in our marriage for something better. So, I made sure everyone knew the real story. During our divorce proceedings, I submitted every piece of evidence I had. Her affair, the lies, the financial deception. Since we lived in a state that penalized infidelity in divorce cases, this meant 1. She lost her right to alimony. 2. She got nothing from my assets. 3. She was legally at fault for the divorce. Word spread fast. Her family found out. Her friends turned against her. Even her business connections disappeared once people saw what she had done. She lost everything. And the best part? I walked away clean, with my finances, my house, and my dignity fully intact. Lisa had destroyed our marriage for nothing. And that was the moment I realized I had won. Lisa's downfall wasn't instant, but it was inevitable. In the weeks following the court's ruling, her life unraveled piece by piece. She moved out of our house, the house she once claimed as her own, and into a tiny apartment. She had no alimony, no financial cushion, and worst of all, no one to turn to. Mark, her so-called soulmate, had vanished after his wife took everything in their divorce. Lisa was alone, and for the first time, she felt it. The cold reality sets in. One afternoon, I stopped by a coffee shop near my office. As I ordered, I heard a familiar voice behind me. Dan. I turned. Lisa stood there, looking exhausted and frail. The once flawless, confident woman now looked lost. She forced a smile. Wow, you look good. How have you been? I sipped my coffee. Better than ever. A flicker of pain crossed her face. I've been thinking a lot. About us. About everything. I waited. She sighed. I was stupid. I thought I was making the right choice, but I was wrong. Mark was a mistake. Leaving you was a mistake. I raised an eyebrow. You didn't leave me, Lisa. You tried to replace me. Big difference. Her hands trembled. I don't know how to fix this, Dan. I leaned in slightly. You can't. Her face crumpled, and for the first time, I saw a real regret in her eyes. I had once loved this woman, but now? She was just another stranger. I nodded toward the door. Take care, Lisa. Then I walked away. And this time, she was the one left standing alone. Lisa's fall from grace was a slow, painful process. I heard through mutual acquaintances that she tried to rebuild her life, but nothing ever quite worked out. She had to take a low-paying job to support herself, one far beneath the standards she had once set for herself. Her old friends distanced themselves, unwilling to associate with someone whose reputation had been tarnished. And love? That was the biggest irony of all. She had left me for what she thought was a better man, only to end up completely alone. My new beginning. As for me, life had never been better. With Lisa out of the picture, I felt free, lighter than I had in years. I poured myself into my work, my hobbies, and most importantly, myself. I started hitting the gym again, not just for the physical benefits, but because I enjoyed the discipline, the control. I traveled, went on trips I had postponed for years because I was too busy compromising for Lisa's whims. And then, something unexpected happened. I met someone new. It wasn't instant. I wasn't looking for love. But one evening, at a business event, I struck up a conversation with a woman named Emily. She was smart, kind, and independent, the complete opposite of Lisa in all the best ways. She wasn't looking for a provider or a status symbol. She wanted partnership, and that was exactly what I was ready to give. For the first time in a long time, I felt genuinely happy. Months passed, and I barely thought about Lisa anymore. But then, one evening, as I was leaving a restaurant with Emily, I heard a voice I hadn't heard in months. Dan. I turned. Lisa stood a few feet away, clutching a shopping bag. Her clothes were plain, her expression hollow. For a moment, she just stared, taking in the sight of me with Emily, seeing how much I had moved on. There was longing in her eyes. Regret. I knew what she wanted to say, but I didn't care. I just gave her a nod, then turned back to Emily, wrapping an arm around her as we walked away. Lisa had made her choice, and I had made mine. Lisa had wanted a divorce, thinking it would lead to a better life. Instead, she lost everything. And me? I got the last laugh.